Hey, you've just stepped into the Caring Corner, where life's caregiving challenges meet a whole lot of heart and a dash of sass. I'm Mischelle O'Neal, and I'm here to serve up insights, inspiration, and real life tools to help you navigate caring for your kids and aging loved ones without forgetting about you. Expect everything from time management hacks and emotional wellness strategies to technology tips sprinkled with humor and tenacity. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to the Caring Corner. I'm Mischelle O'Neal, your host and emotional wellness coach, and I am thrilled to be here before you this morning. I have a special guest for you, and I have been talking to this amazing young lady for years. She's a business owner, but her life has changed in the last few years. And she has also found her in the space of being a caregiver. And I've listened to her story and I've talked to her over the last few years. And I think her story needs to be heard, and not just by everyone, but especially by you. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Staci Moore. She is the voice for women that don't have one until they have the wisdom to know that they do. She rents belief to those that do have it until they can own it themselves. And she is the operator, connecting owners to the resources and relationships that they need to generate additional streams of revenue and relax just a little bit. She is part of the sandwich generation as a secondary, get that, a secondary caregiver of a non-biological father. And she is balancing 4 generations living a digital nomad lifestyle. Look, I am so thrilled to have Staci on the stage with me today. Hey, Staci.
Hey, girl. Woo!
I am so thrilled. I had to do that little switch there because I want to make sure you are seen. So, look, I just want to jump right on in. There is so much. Listen, y'all, you need to hear her story. And so I'm just going to start by asking her a question. I'm just going to put it out there. And so, Staci, was there a pivotal experience in this caregiving journey that changed your perspective or your approach to caregiving and life?
Wow. First, I want to say thank you, Michelle, because this is a topic that I've kind of been keeping under wraps until about 2 weeks ago. And just in the background, talking to some people, and of course, keeping up with you, right? And what you've been putting out to help keep me calm or hitting you up in the DMs. And I really appreciate you holding this space for kind of a silent generation.
Yeah.
Yes, and as you mentioned, one of the things that was pivotal to me is that when I started this process about 10 months ago, is really when I dove deep into it. And it started out in supporting the caregiver herself. She needed to have a double cataract eye surgery. And so I said I'd come in town and stay the month to allow that process to happen. But as I started to go through the day-to-day life process with her, I started to say, this looks like when I was handling my 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old, in
Mhm.
that, preparation of food and making sure that enough nutrient is given, and then helping them get dressed, and then going through the battles of I do and I don't want to, and all of that. And realizing that physically, I felt like it was taking a toll on her. And we know that it is physically stressful on top of the lack of sleep and all of those things. But the big thing was, this isn't my dad. This is not my dad. And there are other siblings. And, initially I came into it very, I think, I was a little angry, a little
Mm-hmm.
salty
Mm-hmm.
in that I knew I came to support her, but where was his direct support from his
Mm-hmm.
children?
Mm-hmm.
And so that mindset was there for probably 4 months as my life began to shift. I had just made a move 2 months prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And now going through another transition and having to hold down the business. Now, I know I asked for the digital nomad life. Oh, I want to be able to work from wherever, whenever I want to.
Right.
But this manifestation was not what I thought it was going to be.
I get you.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but what I had to realize was that the care needed to be given, regardless of how I felt about what was going on with me or the thoughts that I had about past situation. I had to bring myself to the present. And what was the best present situation for everyone involved? And that was for me to remain and be the caretaker, secondary caretaker, and the support to the caretaker, which is my biological mom. And I think once I decided that that was best for everyone, I started to move and operate differently and had a little bit of ease of mind and ease of heart as well.
So, wow, the operator learned how to operate in that situation, huh? So,
Yes, yes.
well, one of the things that really stood out is the fact that it wasn't a gradual thing as far as you're finally coming to that realization is I have to make a
Yeah.
decision. I have to decide what side of the fence I'm going to stand on.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
can't keep straddling this fence. It's not working for me. It's not working for them. I have to decide where I stand in this. Am I correct there?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. That's why I said it kind of went back to the younger years of decisions that you make because of the needs of the kids, the times that you take, the times you stay up late, the things that you have to do and get up early and prepare before they get up
Right.
and all of that. And it's been years for me. I'll be 56 in June and I'm going, I thought I was finished with that. Now I know
Oh,
I
girl,
have
you never finished.
grandkids. Yeah, but I'm not in the same city with them on a regular, especially
Right.
now. So I don't have that same obligation, but taking it to the flip side and never thinking that it would be this early for
Hmm.
me as well. Yeah.
Right. Right. So looking back, what was the one lesson from this stage in your caregiving journey? Because like you said, it's been hard for 10 months, that you're hard at it now. It's you've made the decision, I'm here, I'm hard at
Mhm.
it. So what is the one lesson from this caregiving experience that you wish everyone knew? I hear that breath.
Yeah. The personal reflection of how you operate on a day to day and a realization that one day this could be you. And how do you want to be treated? Who do you want around you? What type of things do you need to get in order
Girl.
before that happens? Are the monetary and financials in alignment? Your
Mhm.
medical, who's aware of what kind of health policy, long-term care, Medicare, if you're of that age, what are those things and are they in alignment? And do people know? Is there a support system? If you have children, are they in place? What are your desires and wishes? And a lot of
Yes.
people say, I'm not old enough to think about a will or a living will or putting things in a trust to protect them in case something happens. And then financially, there are expenses, but what you thought you had set aside to leave a legacy behind becomes eaten up by the financial
Right.
expenses because they're not aware. So, preparation is one, preparing for this yourself, because it did cause me to reflect. How am I sleeping? That became important to me for caregiving, but
Mhm.
also how is that going to affect me 20 years down the line if I don't do it now? Eating habits. For my stepfather, he's diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you prevent that and establish a pattern of good eating habits, and to see a nutritionist before you get into that status? Are there little things that you've been ignoring all of this time and you say, oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to worry about that right now, that 5 years from now, if you had
Girl.
addressed it before, could have been a different result than they were. So self reflection became very important. The second is giving grace and having patience.
Girl. Say that again.
Giving grace and having
Mm-hmm.
patience.
Yes.
There are a lot of scenarios that have happened where I probably would have cursed the person out for their
Mm.
behavior, or I was a very disciplinary as a mother, and also like that in my work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
They used to call me the general. So when you start to have those same things and you express, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, or why are you doing that, or why are you eating like that? And you get to thinking as a dementia person, um, their awareness may not be there. I have to give grace. I can't fuss and complain. Now, there's some things that you can do to try to keep the day as normal and
Mm-hmm.
consistent as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But the awareness that I can't do the same thing, I can't have the same aggression. I have to have, that patience and grace, and thinking about, again, how would I want to be treated, and giving that to both my mom as the caretaker,
Right.
and then to my stepfather as well, and to myself.
Yes, yes. And
Mhm,
that's what there are two things I wanted to touch here because you always give me things to think about. But when you were talking about preparing and being prepared, and that's what I strive to do for my ladies. I call them my ladies, is
mhm,
my whole game is that at the beginning, I want to catch you at the beginning so that as it get worse, because it will get worse, as it progresses, as things change, that you are fully equipped and prepared to handle these. No, it's not going to be easy all the time, but you got the tools and the resources that you need to
mhm,
keep going, to build yourself up, to have that stamina. And with that said, when you were talking about how we need to prepare, because myself, I helped my mother take care of my grandmother, but I'm also at that stage, that beginning stage where my mother she would be upset if I told her age, but she is older.
mhm,
And and no, she'll tell everybody she's 88. And she sometimes, because of technology and stuff, she'll you know um talk to me about it and ask me questions about it. And so when it comes to the banking, the technology, and how everybody puts everything online, and how everybody
yeah,
doesn't want you to come in anymore and all that, a lot of that I'm walking her through, I'm helping her through, to understand this is the way is doing now. And it's not that she's lost her capability or her cognitive, and our cognitive does get, it lessens as we get older, but it's not that. Is the difference between when she was growing up, or when she was an adult, or when she was a teacher, and now, which is totally different. I mean, now to a year ago to now, when you think of AI, and anyone who doesn't understand AI, how that is like Greek to them now, and the concept that things can talk to you, and we don't realize that we've been using them all along, but
right.
all that. So with that said, our young people feel invincible, and they don't think about the future and the fact that things will change for them, and so
Mhm,
they don't prepare. And I'm finding now, and I'm seeing now, that there are more people 30 years and up that are becoming caregivers because of dementia or other caregiving. And caregiving isn't only for the elderly. We have people that we're caregiving even as children or as young adults because of issues, like maybe they have Down syndrome or other issues like that, or MS. in all things. So caregiving isn't just an elderly thing. It's
Right.
all through our lives and at different phases of our life that it can happen. But we're finding more younger people are finding themselves in the role of a caregiver. And so when you find yourself in the role, I will say, I will agree with you 100%. All of a sudden, um, I am thinking all of a sudden, I'm looking at things different.
Hmm.
Who's gonna care
Hmm.
for me? Who do is
Yes.
my daughter has 5 kids. She gonna throw me in the mix. Am I willing to go to a facility? And if I go to a facility, is there enough money set aside that what if she doesn't check on me? Is all these things. And like my mom, she finds herself in a space where most of her buddies are no longer around or not in
Hmm.
good health.
Hmm.
So we have all these things that we need to start thinking of now before moving forward. And that is definitely how we eat, how we take care of our body, how much sleep we get. All that self care is a necessity. And so I just had it to harp on this for a minute, and I'm gonna move on with you, girl. So I want to talk about the joy in the journey. Yes,
Hmm.
there is joy in the journey. And so in the middle of all these challenges, and I want you to tell me about your day, but we're gonna move on. First, we're gonna look amidst all these challenges, and you can start about talking about your day. Can you share a heartwarming story that brought you joy or laughter in the midst of all this and the chaos and knowing the frustrations and the guilt and the sometimes you just want to cry. I know there's joy in that journey. Can you talk to us about that?
I can, because I have a unique situation. And as you mentioned, and we've talked about, this is not my biological father.
Mhm.
I also did not grow up with my biological father. And he passed in 2012. And there are a lot of unanswered questions,
Mhm.
of course. But in this time of reflecting myself, because I've been on a personal development journey since the pandemic, and we talk about trauma and triggers and things that you respond the way you do now based on things that happened in the past. And some of them you don't recall. And so I've gotten to the point during this time frame of realization that my father was a pastor. So I'm a pastor's daughter that I've never really acknowledged or recognized before. Um, and also in not having that relationship with him, I know that as I went through my marriages,
Mhm.
that I did have that desire to have that person that could make those decisions for me. Someone that could carry things in the household, and I needed to have my responsibilities, they'd have theirs, and the person that's going to hold and hug me when I'm
Mhm.
going through my struggles, or to give me advice, from a male perspective.
Mhm.
I am, a strong female, but an independent and been in leadership, but I always wanted that soft space where I
Mhm.
could just, kind of be quiet, or I could whine, and so what's happened over this time is that in the gap of his children not being present, physically present, or, as much as he would like, I've been here. And my mom has stressed that I'm here to help, because there are times with him and with most dementia family members that they don't want help. When they
Mhm.
do have that cognitive realization that I'm losing things, I'm
Mhm.
slipping, I don't have the answer anymore, or I can't physically do the things that I could do before, and he was an alpha male. So there are times now where I'm able to embrace the concept, the feelings, the conversations that I wish I had had with my father.
Wow.
He will come out of the blue when more often when we're alone, and say, "Hey, what you working on today?" And I'm like, "Me? Like, what do you mean, what am I working on? Like, you don't know what I do, and the people that are online that I've been with don't know what I do." So, like, He'll say, "What are you doing?" And I'll say, Poppy, I'm working on the computer and I have an appointment at 4 o'clock. And so I need to go in there and, I need quiet and so forth and so on." And then he'll say, "You know what? You're a good person."
Wow.
And I say, "Thank you." And then he'll
Mhm.
say, "You like helping people, but you can't help everybody." And I'm
Wow.
going, "Where did this come from?"
Mhm.
Because, we haven't had conversations over the years. We have not had a relationship like that at all. I don't
Mhm.
call and talk to him. We haven't been in the same room and kicked it or had drinks or, been
Mhm.
at family reunions or any of that. So there is an intuitive element in what he's going through in connecting with me, which I know to him, he probably wishes he could have those moments with his kids. And
Mhm.
so I have been blessed with one of the ways that I help to stand him up sometimes
Mhm.
when he says, "No, I don't feel like it." I said, "Well, Poppy, I need a hug today. I need you to stand up and give me a hug because it's been a rough morning." And he'll say, "Oh, okay." And he'll get up and he'll do that for me.
Aw.
And it's a combination of what he needs, I need him to do, but it's also what I need. And as I go through this, I need the hug. I need the hand holding that we do going walking to the mailbox. I need the jokes. I need the music and the dancing that we do in order for me to get him to the restroom to get cleaned up. I
Wow.
need those moments. I'm able to have childlike moments. I'm able to joke with him in times that I've never been able to
Wow.
with others, especially with males. Even with my husband's, the closest person has been my son. He's the
Mm.
jokester out of my kids. So to have that moment, and I'm 5'6.5", used to be 7, but now I'm shrinking. But he's over 6 foot tall. So
Wow.
just that comforting, strong embrace, he still has it. And for
Mm.
me to be able to receive it is my gift that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I'm not married, so there isn't that opportunity. And he's giving it to me daily, and I
Mhm.
won't let it slide, and I'll fight every day to have that hug, to have that hand held, to
Mm.
rub his hands and put cream on them for the pain. I'll take those moments and to tuck him in at night. That's one of my duties. So there's no feeling like it.
Wow.
I wouldn't have had it.
That's what, girl, almost make me want to cry. So
Mhm.
that's what so many people don't understand, that this is a service of love. We don't do it because of an obligation. Yes, there may be a sense of obligation there, but you stay there, you continue
Yeah.
out of love.
Mhm.
And anytime you doubt, and I'm avid on this, anytime you doubt that you love, look back over what you've done and then ask yourself why.
Mhm.
And that love will show up. Because I best believe that it's not out of obligation. We can walk away from obligation, but very rarely do we walk away from love.
Mhm.
And so I just needed to say that, because that is so beautiful. Now, in our caregiving journey, there are unsung heroes, and caregiving often goes unnoticed. And a lot of people won't even hold on or admit to that title, that I'm a caregiver. Well, let me
Mhm.
tell you right up front, if you're a mother, you're a caregiver. If you're a wife, you're a caregiver. You are a caregiver in so many ways, even at work. If
Yes.
you're the boss, if you're taking care of people, notice I
That's
just
right.
said that. If you're
Mhm.
managing people, you
Mhm.
are caregiving, because most managers, a good manager stands behind their people. and they
Absolutely.
nurture them and they grow them. You are a caregiver. So never be afraid of the title caregiver. It's nothing to be ashamed of, it's something to be proud of, that you have the ability, the stamina, and the heart to care for others. And so with that said, can you tell us about someone who supports you in a way that
Mhm.
made a significant difference?
I'm going to say someone during this journey, and it speaks to the connection of being a manager and caring who your staff is and
Mhm.
what they bring to the table. And throughout this process, I have a wonderful gentleman who I brought on part time.
Mm.
Gosh, it's been almost 11 years or somewhere around in there now, as we worked for one of the wireless brands. And at the time, he was trying to finish up college and he couldn't decide whether he wanted to stay with me or work for this other retail company. And it was the relationship and bond that we built because I was able to recognize his skill set in
Mhm.
an area where I lacked. And I used that to help develop him as a leader. Well, now all of these years later, he still works for that wireless company and he's, a district manager, area manager, odd titles, but he's in a position now where when I need to move between this generation that I'm with and then the two generations that are below me, he resides in the middle. So I
Mm.
have a stopover place when I drive through because I'm older. I can't do the 8, 9 hours straight anymore.
Girl. Mhm.
And so he's opened up his home to
Mm.
me. He's one of my clients, so he pays me. He still works for that wireless company. And when I had no reception in this house, and I kept telling myself, well, I'm not going to be here that much longer, so I'm not going to worry about it. And, da 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 da. He he sent me a phone
Wow.
so that I could carry on my job, so I could be available for those emergency calls.
Mhm.
And it meant a lot. We talk every week.
Mhm.
He checks on me to make sure I'm okay. And, you know, I would never have thought that what I did all those years ago will come back. When you talk about paying it forward
Mhm. Mhm.
and just critical, critical, critical. Now,
Wow.
my kids have been very supportive and because now I haven't seen the grandkids. Like I had just relocated to the city where everybody was,
Mhm.
and I haven't been there. And it's difficult to take off because we need the extra care at night
Right.
for
Right.
her, lifting him up and all of that. So they've had to be patient with me. But I can say the unsung hero that I didn't expect to fly in from nowhere and um, to really be there in a lot of different ways
Mhm.
is going to be him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's rare that we come across such amazing people like that. And
Mhm.
so, whoever you are, if you see this episode, my hat off to you. Thank you for taking care of my friend Stacy, um, for understanding what she need and being
Yeah.
there when she needed it. So I really. So now,
Mhm.
let's move on.
Mhm.
Now, my final question for you, sort of, kind of,
Mhm.
how do you ensure that you take care of yourself while being fully committed to caregiving?
It's by connecting with people like you that are constant reminders. Because even if I'm not in a $12,000 coaching program or any of that, You have made sure that you've had consistency in putting out content that kind of taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, you're doing what you should be doing and it's good for you. And did you take time out for you?
Right.
While also saying, how are you? Because sometimes it's not the response. I don't need to give a response.
Mm-hmm.
It's to know that somebody's still checking for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the struggle that, as you become a dementia, Alzheimer, even some of the other medical. I have an aunt who has long haul COVID that
Mm.
has just,
Yeah.
there are great days, and then there are days of not being able to get out of the bed. And she resides alone. No children, no
Wow.
spouse, no
Mm.
roommate. Sisters in the area, but just to say, I wonder sometimes, and we say, well, if I didn't show up on social media, would people notice? Would
Right.
they notice and ask, where
Girl,
are
we
you?
notice. We
Well,
notice,
but
especially when you didn't put them little drinks out there, them little recipes. We
oh
notice.
gosh, okay, okay,
Ooh, what's
okay.
the one for this week? No.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip because I was debating whether to bring
I
that
just
back
love
or not.
looking at them. I just love, oh, that look good. What's
Yeah,
that one?
yeah. So I appreciate that. And it is my reminder that my background is in behavioral and social sciences.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I've preached to many throughout the years, though too should be true for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I am at the point where I need to walk the talk more because I definitely have had times in my life where I've been well respected and people listen to what I say, but I'm not listening to my own voice
Mm-hmm.
because I put others in front of me. But at this time, then I realize if I don't go to sleep on time, I don't have the energy in the morning. I don't make it
Exactly.
through the day. I don't know what may happen throughout the day that I may need to go through. If I say, oh, well, you know what? I don't have to charge my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like getting up and charging it. But that next morning or somewhere in the middle of the night, we may be making a hospital run where I need that battery to be charged.
Right.
So staying prepared, hydration, I tend to get dehydrated. And
Mm-hmm.
so saying I need to have X amount of water. So, and then having that partner, mom says, did you drink your water? I drank my water, keep having that accountability.
Accountability. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. So, and I've been able to use, I find some ease in saying at first I was saying, well, it's the system that's supposed to take him through rehab. It's the system that's supposed to provide this and provide that. And I had to, once again, a realization and a decision to say, you know what? I know a lot. I know a lot. So I need to use my skill set. I use CBD products and it helps. Let's see if it helps him. I have a friend that works for an alternative clinic and has supplements available. Let's try those. Massaging, identifying. He can't necessarily say what hurts
Mm-hmm.
when or where. So for me to then walk through the process, understanding sometimes is yeses or nos, because then that lessens my frustration, which
Mm-hmm.
keeps my stress down and my blood pressure down. And, those are things that, keep me from having that extra drink at night. And it's, it is that way, when I fight taking in a Tylenol and then a Aleve because I say, oh, I'm going to tough this out because I can do that. And then I go, no.
Girl, take that. Sometimes you got to. I hate taking, I really, I hate taking medicine,
Right.
but there are times that headache will hit me, and I hate taking ibuprofen. But I know when I have a bad headache, that is the only thing. And so, do I go to bed with a headache and wake up with a headache, or do I take some ibuprofen just before I go to bed and wake up in good shape in the morning? And I
Yeah.
don't do it often, but there's sometimes you just got to do it.
Because you may have to be the decision maker
Mm-hmm.
the next day for something. And so what you've deprived yourself of and you thought you would tough out the next day may be critical to the survival of the person that you're caretaking for or that you're supporting. You know, when you were talking about the technology part, I used to be like, Mom, you got this, you can figure this out. But
Girl.
it's truly now, she's got a new phone. Like my son got the phone, daughter got
Mhm.
the tablet to make sure that she can do these things. And we walk through the process and how do I set it up to print and how do I get on the, Bluetooth and all of that. And so she's really learned a lot of skills in the last 12 months, exercising her ability and in decision making of pushing back because we're in a small town. So sometimes it's hard to push back
Mhm.
because of the limited opportunities to choose somewhere else or another person or another physician. So how do we work through that process? So I have to use my background to move in or to just inquire about things. So that's the things that give me ease is when I know I can ease the situation through all of my years of experience. I have put more things into play
Girl.
between
And the thing is
legalese.
understanding. I was gonna say the thing is understanding and giving yourself grace too. A lot of people, a lot of caregivers, my women, put themselves through tremendous guilt when they have to turn some part of that care over to someone else. And you can't do everything. And the important thing is to know where your strength is, what you just spoke to,
Mhm.
and knowing where is not your lane and that someone else can best serve your loved one than you can. And
Yeah, and some of it is just having that support system. Like I said, if it had not been for the additional supplements, we
mhm,
still would have had a sundowner that at 2:30 in the morning, when people go to sleep, wants to try to walk out.
right. Mhm.
Or that we don't have a way. He's not one to take medication because by orally because he feels like, he knows it's medication and doesn't know it makes me feel funny or, there may be a threat to my health, in the
Mhm.
reverse method. So having to figure out alternative ways and asking people for suggestions, but having a support group of people that can say, oh, I mean, it's things we did as kids. You put it in applesauce, put it in pudding, or in our case, it's in the coffee in the morning,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
it's in the iced tea, lemonade, whatever the drink is at night, or it may be in a smoothie in the middle of the afternoon. But it's bringing together all of those things. But sometimes you just don't know what you don't know,
Right.
but
Mhm.
other people do. So if you're not asking, if you're not sharing just a little bit, because I didn't want to initially, because I was like, I'm not going, this ain't my thing. I'm not going to be here. We're going to get this straight. There'll be care. And I was saying to Mom, you need to let people help you, all of that. And I've turned into the one that said, no, some of these scenarios, ooh, I understand why you don't now, but
Mhm.
it's figuring out how do we balance that? How do we balance that? So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So this has been a phenomenal conversation. And I know, me and you, we can talk forever. But there's two things I want to bring out.
Mhm.
One, I want you to tell us where we can go. And I'm going to put your links at the end of this, but of the show notes, but I want you to tell people where to go to read that phenomenal article that you did. Y'all, she did this
Mhm.
heart-wrenching article. It about her journey, about what she's finding out and the growth she's had. And you need to read that. So one, I want you to tell us that. And two, you know, like all my ladies, she is doing something besides caregiving and taking care of herself. She also has her own business, and I will be putting the link in there. But anything you'd like to tell us about the operator and tell us about that article before we leave, Staci.
Sure, and thank you, Michelle. So you can find me anywhere on almost every platform as the operator, as you'll see on my name, THEOPER, the number 8. TOR. Yeah, I stand in the middle as the connector. And so on all the platforms, you can find me there, and then also theoperator.com. And what we'll do for ease is that we'll create theoperator.com/health hunter to be able to get to this article, which is, being a caretaker, Gen X style. So that is being in the sandwich generation. And it was my first verbal/written acknowledgement to the public that I'm in this situation, and, approaching it from having feelings, but really the perspectives of some of the things we talked about with finance and medical care and some of the things that people need to put in place. And then right now, I'm going to say the closest it's mapping right now is talking about my journey. And so I've started this journey called The Art of Becoming, because it's, we're constantly becoming throughout the years. And when you reach this age, for a male, they're going through what we call midlife crisis, right? And they're buying the speedy vehicles and their boat for the first time and all of that. But as females, we tend to have more of a reflective time in saying, I didn't do this and I wish I had done that and all of this. So it's about thinking about, where am I now? And what are my loves now? It doesn't have to look like it did at 20, 30, or 40 for me. It can be now identifying, what do I like to do? What do I like to eat? How do I like to practice self-care? And it looks different for everyone, but you have the voice to be able to do it the way you want to. And then you have people like myself and Mischelle that can help you if the vision isn't large enough, because sometimes we do get trapped in the box of what everybody else calls us, those titles or those things that we loved in the past, but they don't know who we are now or who we are becoming. So it's talking about that art of those type of things. And I will include the generational sandwich generation as a caretaker, as well as being a generator on human design and a Gemini with my two sides of leadership and romance.
Awesome. Awesome. So I really appreciate your being here with me today. Listen, I just give you all kudos and thank you again. And for the rest of you, make sure you stay tuned, like, subscribe, or like, subscribe, and comment. Go ahead and leave us a comment below, and I will let you know when the next episode is out. But remember, the Caring Corner is out every Monday, first thing in the morning. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye. All right, that's a wrap for today at the Caring Corner. We've tackled some big topics, but remember, you're not in this alone. Subscribe to keep the wisdom and warmth coming, and stay tuned for amazing guests who'll be joining us to help round out your caregiving toolkit. Catch you next time, and keep conquering those challenges.